Hi everyone, I'm Jane, and today we are going to do something a little bit different. Today I am actually working on a painting that I've wanted to do for myself for quite a while, and I hadn't actually planned on filming this. I was just going to do it, and that's why you didn't see me do the underpainting or the gridding. But once I got those elements done, I realized that this was quite a large undertaking since I'm working on an 18 by 24 inch canvas. I decided why not record the process and share a little bit of it with you. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to kind of talk to you about a couple of things that I hear on an almost daily basis from many of you. And the main topic that I want to talk about is fear. So with almost every new painting that I put out to you guys, I hear from at least one person, I'm afraid. You know, whether it's I'm afraid to start, I'm afraid to finish, I'm afraid to do this part, I want to change it, but I'm afraid. You know, I hear about people being afraid all of the time. So I wanted to address that a little bit more in depth. It's a topic we've talked about many, many times before, but not one that we've really spent a lot of time kind of dedicating to it. So first I want to talk about how fear can be both helpful and harmful in your painting. And yeah, I said that fear can be helpful, and it can, but let's focus on how it can be harmful to you. So fear can be a very harmful thing in painting if you listen to that voice that says, I'm afraid to do, you know, this or that, and you allow it to make you freeze up, and you can't move forward because you're frozen by that fear. That's when fear is harmful. You know, you're never going to get past that fear unless you just go for it. You know, if you let fear stop you in your tracks, the next time you're confronted with that same situation, you're not going to be any less fearful. So you have to find a way to just buckle down and say, yeah, I'm a little bit afraid to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we can talk about that a little bit more in a bit. Fear can be helpful, like I said. So if you're about to undertake something that you've never done before and you think, I'm afraid, but you don't freeze up, you recognize it and take it for what it is. So for me, that means, you know, when I feel afraid to do something, I'm at a point in my career where I realize that fear to try something in art means that I'm about to learn something. I have the opportunity to grow and improve, but only if I move past that fear, if I do whatever it is I'm afraid to do. And being afraid to do something can help you think creatively about it. You know, if I think, well, I'm really afraid to try this color combination or this technique, you know, that's gonna put me in a position to maybe practice with it first. Okay, I wanna make sure that I have this right before I put it on my canvas. So I'm gonna practice with it, I'm gonna experiment with it, I'm gonna learn something, and then I'm gonna use what I learned. So it really depends on what you do with fear, whether it's a good or a bad thing. I kind of think of it this way. In art especially, there's no reason to let fear stop you from doing something. You know, think of it as the only reason we should not do something because we're afraid is if doing it would be harmful. So, you know, if you're afraid to jump off a cliff, you know, with or without a parachute, whatever, that's probably a good fear because that could potentially be harmful to you. But making a painting that you do or don't like, or turns out the way you wanted it to or not, none of that is harmful to you. None of it is detrimental to your well-being. So there's no reason to say, oh, I'm afraid to do this painting and then back off and not do it. It's not going to hurt you. You may not like it, but I guarantee that if you push past your fear and do it anyway, you're going to learn something. And ultimately that's going to make you a stronger artist. And the next time you go to a painting, you're going to be able to take that lesson with you and use it. And the most important thing is the more you help yourself to get past your fear, you know, to recognize I am afraid to do this, but do it anyway, it gets easier and easier to handle fear. You know, the next time you're confronted with it, you already know, oh, I can just push past this fear and, you know, learn something or have a good time, whatever it is. So I've mentioned this before, but whenever I paint for myself, I do not bring fear to the easel with me in any way. I am not afraid. You know, I don't care what my painting turns out like. I know that might sound weird. It may sound weird to think, well, you know, if you're gonna paint, then what's the point in painting if you don't care if you have a good painting to show for it at the end? The main reason that I don't care is because I find that if I go to a painting with high expectations, it has to be good. I need this to be good. It has to be like this. It has to look like that, whatever. Then I put way too much pressure on myself. I allow fear to come hang out with me while I paint, and it absolutely affects the outcome of my painting. On the flip side of that, I've noticed that when I have a much more carefree attitude and my focus is on enjoying my time and potentially learning something and not necessarily the outcome of the painting, that I have a much more enjoyable time in the first place, but also I typically like my painting a lot more than when I go to it with stress. So here's an example for you. There's a painting that I have a video, and I did it several years ago. While I was making the video, I was really struggling, and it's been a few years now, but I don't think it was the painting itself that I was struggling with. I think it was the video production. I was having problems with my camera or something, I can't remember. And then the editing was a nightmare for some reason, but anyway, I remember getting to the end of making that video and being about ready to put it out to you guys, and I hated it because I struggled so much in the process of making this video. I hated the video, I hated the painting. I almost did not put the video out because my struggle in the production of the video changed my view of the painting. Ultimately, I did put the video out, and it has been one of your favorite paintings. It's by far one of my very, you know, most popular videos that I have. And now that I have some time between me and that struggle, and I can't even really remember what the struggle was, I can see the painting for what it is, and I like it much, much more now. I've seen that happen a lot with you guys too. You know, where you'll post a painting to me and the very first thing out of your mouth is, I struggled so much with this. And then you go on to say that you don't like the way it turned out and you really had a hard time, and, you know, but the struggle is the focus in what you're saying. And, you know, it's funny because I'll look and I would say 9 times out of 10, the painting is incredible. And I look at it, I'm like, I don't know what you feel like you struggled with, but this is awesome. So what's happening is you feel like you struggled with it. So when you look at the painting, you're not seeing it for what it is. You are seeing your struggle. So that's, you know, one of the main reasons that I don't allow fear to come with me. I have no expectations for what the painting is going to look like at the end, because then I can just avoid that struggle altogether. So let's talk about a couple of ways that I kind of keep fear at bay when I paint for myself. And number one is, like I said, I have no expectations. I mean, clearly my goal is to have a painting that I like, but if it doesn't turn out, I don't really care, because I can do it again. If I did it once, I can do it again. when you go to a painting with that attitude, you know, I don't really care how this turns out, you take a huge amount of pressure off of you. And I think you're better able to focus on, you know, what it is that you're doing in that moment, that brush stroke that you just did, that color combination you just made. You're not constantly looking at the whole thing with a critical eye and saying, that's ugly, that's not right, this needs to be fixed, this isn't working out. And eliminating that critical eye is a huge part of, you know, eliminating fear, but also, I feel like, coming out with a better painting. The second thing is I take all of my time that I have to paint for myself, I take it all as nothing, absolutely nothing except personal time. It's time to spend on myself, and I'm open to learning new things. That is it. I mean, that's really what painting is about, right? It's about time that we spend on ourselves. It's about self-expression. You know, why do you want to spend time on yourself that is full of nothing but stress and anxiety? You know, you want to spend time on yourself where you can just relax and say, man, I don't even care. I'm just going to enjoy this process. I'm going to enjoy every single brush stroke and every single color combination, and nobody else owns this time but me. And that's really what I did with this painting. It was just time that I could spend on me, that I could experiment and grow my skills and just enjoy painting. You know, I don't get to, I think, spend time painting and just enjoying the process quite as often as maybe you guys do, because it is my job. And so I have to, you know, I have to treat it as such. I have to treat it as a job. So these are rare moments for me to be able to just kind of say, this is my time. I'm going to enjoy it, and, you know, just kind of learn whatever lessons are heading my way in this painting. So my third thing that I do to help alleviate fear. So it's, you know, it's easier said than done. I've been told before to just shut fear off, to just say, no, fear, you can't come hang out with me. But sometimes, you know, we do feel fear. That isn't something that you can just shut off all the time. But one thing that really is a helpful tool, and I think that it's often overlooked, you know, because it sounds silly or you've heard it said before, but fake it till you make it. Like I said, it's okay if you feel fear. You may feel fear. It's what you do with that fear that is helpful or destructive. But if you feel fear, fake it until you make it, right? Don't let your posture say, I'm afraid. You know, don't tense up and slouch over and get your eyeball an inch away from the canvas, or, you know, whatever it is that you do when you're afraid. Don't be tense. So what I do is I act really casual. And by that I mean, you know, when I'm filming a video for you guys, I always have a palette in my left hand, right? So that I can hold it up in the camera and you can see the colors that I'm mixing and how. But when I'm painting for myself, I don't use those plate palettes. I use my glass palette that just sits on my work surface. So this leaves my left hand empty. So I will typically just kind of take a much more casual posture as I stand in front of my easel, and I will put my left hand in my pocket, whether it's my pants pocket or my hoodie pocket, my jacket, you know, whatever. I just kind of lounge back a little bit with my hand in my pocket, and that posture, what that posture says to my brain is, I'm relaxed, I feel pretty casual. And relaxed and casual are the opposite of fearful, intense. So, you know, if you're ever like afraid to do a painting, I want you to try that. Just relax your body. So maybe you're slouching a little bit, just, you know, your head is kind of cocked to one side, your neck is relaxed, your hand is in your pocket. It's really hard to have that relaxed posture and a fearful attitude at the same time. So walk up to that easel and say, I'm not afraid. I don't even care. With your hands slung in your pocket and a casual posture. The next thing that I do is I don't have time constraints. You know, that's another thing that I hear so constantly from you guys is about, you know, oh, I'm a slow painter. This would take me weeks and weeks and weeks to do. You know, I'm just really slow. That's really kind of a pet peeve for me. There's no such thing as a slow painter, you guys. There's none. You saying that you're a slow painter is you comparing yourself to someone else. It's you holding somebody else as a standard and saying, that's how I need to be. But that's not the case. Everyone is different. Some people do paint faster. Some people take a lot longer. Me, for example, this painting, and really I just kind of stopped when I felt like it looked about where I wanted it, because I have a Tuesday deadline. But I have roughly 10 hours of easel time in this, meaning I was standing in front of the easel with a paintbrush in my hand working on this painting. But at some point I had to abandon it in an effort to get it done. You know, like Leonardo da Vinci said, art is never completed but merely abandoned. So, you know, I had to make a decision on when to abandon this in an effort to get it out for you. But really, I feel like I could probably put in another 10 hours into this easily. And maybe it would take you 40 hours to do. And maybe it would take you 3 hours to do. Maybe it would take you a lifetime to do. None of that matters. You're not a slow painter. You're not any kind of a painter. You're a painter. And that's it. That's all you have to be. So, you know, when you say, oh, I'm a slow painter, to me that says when you get in front of your easel, you bring that fear with you. This is going to take me a long time. I'm slow. I'm not up to this imaginary standard that I've set. And that adds pressure to you. And it makes your time painting less enjoyable and more full of fear. So I really, really highly encourage you to stop saying, I'm a slow painter. You know, it hinders your creativity. It makes you try to rush next time. You know, I don't want to be slow. I need to, so-and-so did it in this many hours. I have to be able to do it in that many hours, or somehow I failed because I'm slower. So those are the things that I do to kind of alleviate fear while I'm painting, and they work really good. I can tell you that not a single moment while I was working on this painting over the whole last week, there was not a single moment where I thought, oh, I don't know, that doesn't look very good. Man, this is taking too long. Or, you know, I'm afraid to do this, I'm afraid to do that. I just did it. And I experimented, you know, and you may see that a couple times here in the video where you see me start with one color and then I completely change and do something else, because it's all about experimenting. And whether you like what you do when you experiment or not, you learned something, you know? If you layer your colors together and you think, ooh, that looks terrible, well, now you've just learned something about layering. You know, maybe you don't like layering like that. And so remember that. Maybe you layer your colors together, or you blend some colors together and you think, oh, that is perfect. That looks exactly like, you know, whatever it is that it looks like to you. Remember that you just learned something. So there's actually a line in a Psychedelic Furs song that every time I hear this song and I hear this line, I always think of you guys. You know, I always think, man, that's a line that I want to share with everybody. In that old song, Love My Way, he says, you can never win or lose if you don't run the race. And it's the exact same thing here. Letting fear stop you from picking up your paintbrush that guarantees that you will never make a painting that you hate. And that's what we're all afraid of, right? Making a painting that we hate. But it also guarantees that you will never, ever, ever know the joy and elation of making a painting that you absolutely love. And I can guarantee to you that that joy and elation that you feel in making a painting that you absolutely love is 10 times, 100 times stronger than making a painting that you don't love, a painting that you hate, a painting you are so embarrassed of that you just want to start it on fire. So if you're going to let the fear of making those bad paintings stop you, you will never have that experience. And that's really sad. So I want you guys to learn how you specifically get over fear. Try out the techniques that I told you that I go through and see if those help you. You know, maybe it's as easy as picturing a light switch in your head. And when that light switch is flipped on, fear is on. You know, and you have to find a way to get into your head and flip that light switch down to turn fear off. Maybe it's as simple as that. Just kind of a little meditative visualization practice. Whatever it is, I want you to work toward that, figuring out how to turn fear off. If you already have some things that you do to help you turn fear off, I would love to hear about that. So please leave me a comment below and tell me what you do to control fear while you're painting. If there's something in particular that you're afraid of when painting that we haven't, discussed here, leave me a comment below, and maybe I can or somebody else in our community can comment and just kind of encourage you and help you come up with a way to get over that fear. Also, I know that, this wasn't really a tutorial. If you're interested in doing a painting like this, it's really very similar, almost exactly, the techniques that I used in the Buddha video that we did recently. It's just, on a bigger scale, and I put a little bit of extra time into it. There's really nothing different other than what we did in the Buddha video. However, my Patreon supporters will be getting the reference image as well as the image that I used to make the grid and my color palette that I used to the best of my recollection, just a full materials list. They'll also be getting a slightly longer version of this video that just won't have quite so much editing. It will still be in time-lapse, but it'll be a little bit slower. So if you're interested in joining our Patreon community, so you can get that as well as, a lot of other perks and events that we do, then you can check out my Patreon on my website at paintingwithjane.com. We do live events once or twice every single week. I hope that today's video was helpful for you and helps you, kind of wrestle your fear into submission, and I would love to hear how that has helped you. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.